Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntreMD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntreMD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntreMD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Well, hello. You are in for a treat because I have the amazing Dr. Beckford here, and she's going to be taking us behind the scenes of the roller coaster ride that is, a doctor being an entrepreneur, being a speaker, doing all the things, and you're going to get so much value out of it. So this is one of those that, I want you to really lean in. Dr. Beckford, welcome to the show. That's how excited I am.
Okay. I'm excited too. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
It's going to be fun.
Of course. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to take a moment to introduce yourself to the listener so they can figure out why I'm so excited you're here.
Okay, so I'm Dr. Tamara Beckford, and I am a trained ER physician working in Houston, Texas. I have an organization, actually a really great business, which is Your Caring Docs, founded in 2020. And actually, we're like a week or so over being exactly 2 years old. So I have a toddler business at this time. And my business helps organizations to build even more amazing culture by reducing their employee burnout and boosting their productivity, boosting their retention through curated self-care workshop. So I'm here as part of the wonderful EntreMD. If you guys have not seen me or heard me, I am an EntreMD master. I've been here since the inception. I'm in love with EntreMD. Like some of our colleagues says that you can't kick me out. And so with that, I'm also a wonderful part of EntreMD as their success mentor. So if you join our wonderful team, you get to see me every week.
I love it. They have a whole hashtag going on for the EntreMD Business School, hashtag EBS for life. I was like, oh, okay, we have a new hashtag. So yay, why not? So really amazing, right? So you have the company, you're doing these self-care workshops, you're international speaker, you're leading over 100 physicians in success groups every week. And this is, what a journey, right?
Absolutely.
Now, what happens when you start getting to this stage is that you're put in a corner like, okay, this is a unicorn, right? And so I'm grateful that, you said yes to coming here so we can talk about all the things. So now you're a speaker. You do great on stage. You open events for us at EntreMD when we have our retreats and stuff like that. And you've been invited multiple times to be the host for events in person and online. So you're this, right, really great speaker. Okay. Now, have you always been this way? Like, did you come with the speaker gene? Tell us about what it was like in the beginning.
Absolutely. So the answer is absolutely not. I did not come with the speaker gene. I came with, if you guys have listened to some of the prior episode, we have the wonderful Dr. Latoya Lucis, when she said that I wiped out all my presents. I was like, maybe Dr. Latoya and I use the same company because I was hidden. Now, yes, Facebook here and there, but you want me to go out and tell people about myself? Absolutely not. I'm very private. No, 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 no. And, I was so hidden. Like I said, I paid a company and then I would check to ensure that you could not find me. And so you could not hear my voice. And so now, as a part of EntreMD, when you're part of this wonderful, wonderful group, you get these challenges. And so you're saying, no, find your voice, tell people about yourself. And I'm like, absolutely not. Thank you so much, Dr. Una. You're so awesome, but I'm not going to do that. And then one day, you posed a challenge, and I said, okay, someone actually came to me. As you guys heard, I am an ER physician. And if you haven't been under a rock, you recognize there is a pandemic that's going on. So, in the midst of really, really the heart of the pandemic, when it started, someone from my undergrad, who is a head of a society, asked me to come and speak on a panel. And one thing we learn is the power of yes. Because before everything was, I don't think so. I'm not good enough. Why would they want me? But that power of yes came through. So I said yes. Amazingly, I was like, oh, I felt good. So I invited everybody because that's what you do, right? You're afraid. So why don't you just invite all your family members so they could stare at you? And if you fall and explode, you're like, well, at least I tried. But needless to say, it worked out well. And, my family was sending me messages like, oh my God, you're really good. You're really good. So I said, okay. Now, that day that I went on this panel, I put makeup on and said, okay, I want to feel my best. And then that exact day after I finished the panel, we had a little challenge. It says, why don't you make a 2-minute video and put it on social media? And I said, okay, I already have makeup on. Why don't I do a 2-minute video right now? And I went into my dining room and I did a 2-minute video. And I tell you, I know that right now, I think you can hold like a human was what, 6 minutes that they can hold their breath. One person. I did it for those 2 minutes because I did not breathe. I said everything in one long sentence and I posted it on social media and I ran away. Ran. But then people and colleagues of mine, people I went to high school, people I went to undergrad were like, oh, wow, I liked what you're talking about, and so on. And I said, really? They want to hear from me? And that's just the power of the voice that you have within, that you're so unsure of, that you can make a difference for others, but you're keeping it hidden. And my dad always says, you don't cover a light. You let it shine so others can get it, right? So they can benefit from it. So that was the start. And I'll tell you, that was August of 2020. And man, I got bit by the bug.
So you say you got bit by the bug. So does that mean you fell in love with it? You realize like, wait a minute, I thought I didn't like speaking. I was scared of speaking, but I actually like this stuff. Like what happened for you?
I didn't know when a bug bites you, it starts to itch. So I had a little itch and I said, wait a minute, maybe this is something. Now, mind you, this is August of 2020. And then through our challenges that we have, which is really to build us up as entrepreneurs, learning the different skill set and also bringing out skill set that you had within you that you weren't aware. Because that's the biggest thing that happened, right? It says, well, we have a different challenges, go out and start making videos. And I recall also, Dr. Una, you mentioned about the Legacy Parent podcast that you started, and you said that I was on every week. And, I said to myself, that's so cute.
That's
I don't
cute
know
that
if
you
I'm
would do
going to
that,
say,
Dr. Una.
that's
Good for
right,
you.
it's so good for you. But then what did I start? As you start looking back at your journey, you realize that you really compress a lot in what you're learning, you're doing it in a shorter period of time. Because by October, I started to do a weekly, I wasn't super consistent in October, but by November, every week, I have been, yeah, that's from like around November or the end of October 2020. Every week I've done something on social media live. I think I've only missed in total 3 weeks
Okay,
between
so
2020 and now.
we're going to stop right there because this is gold. So now the beginning of your story sounds a lot like I was scared of doing it. I did it scared. I wasn't perfect. I did it messy. And, when we think all the way to not the end of your journey, but where we are now, you're like, wow, so doing it scared and messy can bring you here. That's amazing. But this statement you just made of, I showed up live every week since 2020, that's 2 years at the time of this recording, right? And let's even take out the 3 weeks that you missed. So we're talking about 101 weeks, 101 times you showed up live. Those are not the only times because I follow you on social media. So I know you do reels. I know you do all these other things, but this
Absolutely.
is just when you showed up live. And so walk us through the benefit you've experienced because you've done that, right? Because I am really big on picking something and doing it consistently because you're putting in the reps, right? You're building this big muscle. And the problem with putting in the reps is when you're doing it, it doesn't look like much. And it takes a moment for the results to show up. And that's why people quit. But when you do something consistently, it's mind boggling what it can do. So for you and from your perspective, what do you think showing up live every week for 2 years? At this point, it's just 2 years because even with the 3 weeks, like we're in December at this point. So 2 years, 104 times. What difference has that made?
It makes a huge difference. And one of the biggest difference that it makes is building that confidence. Because when you start a project, you're probably going to start and be a little bit staccato in it, right? Because your mind is telling you all the things. No one wants to hear from me. What I have to say isn't valuable. And I implore those who are listening that these are the statements that everyone has. If you listen to some of the prior episodes, Dr. Kelly Christensen, I mean, she is being talked to by like so many people are seeking her out. But when she first started, she said, "Who wants to hear anything from me?" And you're like one of the top urologists, right?
And her podcast, as of
Yeah.
2 days ago, was 900,000
We're waiting for
downloads.
the 1
We're
mil
waiting
because
for
we're
the
going
1
to
million.
all
I've been waiting.
celebrate
I told a girl, I am waiting. I'm waiting with you. I can't wait.
Absolutely. And, and it all started the same thing. Well, who wants to hear me? If you listen to almost all of the entrepreneurs and everyone, we have a voice within us, but we're like, I don't think anyone wants to hear from me. So you're a little bit staccato. You start and you stop. But when you really stick with it and say, you know what? I'm going to put it out there that I will be here every week. And you show up every week, irrespective of if you think and someone's listening, if you think that you have a large audience or not, it builds a confidence within you that I can do this. So that's within you. Now, it also builds the skill set. Because in interviewing, there are little nuances that you can pull out of your interviewee or your guest. You can recognize when they're nervous and you can relax them, let them have a wonderful time and pull out the wonderful stories that they have within them. How do you do that? By being consistent, by recognizing with the skills that they have that they might not even have, which is your guest, and making them look as amazing as possible. So a lot of people say, like, well, why are you doing your, Dr. Tamara Beckford show, which is the podcast now that I do? And I'm saying, because I have colleagues who are doing amazing things, not just inside of medicine, but outside of medicine, and they need to be highlighted. And you begin to develop not just that day, but the trust that they give to you, others start to recognize it. And that builds not just the consistency and the trust, but then people now want to be part of your circle. They want to be a part of what you're doing. And, People see when there's amazing things coming. And, who wouldn't want to be part of an amazing community or be along the ride with someone who's doing well? Not in a negative way, like, oh, I'm just trying to rub shoulders with them. But no, if you're doing something so positive and you're bringing so much light to the world, why wouldn't someone else want a little bit of that light so they can also shine and do and show what they're doing? So that happens in the midst of all of this.
Okay, so this right here, Dr. Beckford, you can just make this your own podcast episode because this is great. Yeah, because the things you talked about are so key. For instance, when you talk about confidence, right, and that inner critic who just goes crazy and goes wild, a lot of times I've talked to a lot of people who are waiting for that to go away so they can start, not realizing that the way you not even get rid of that, but more like tame it, the way you tame it is by doing in spite of it, right? And you talk about building that skill set, right? And a lot of times people want to get good so they can go and do, not realizing the way to get good is to go and do. And then building trust. I think it first dawned on me when I started hearing it was a theme. People say, you're my commute on Monday morning. So this is for the EntreMD podcast. You're my commute on Monday morning. Oh, I walk my dog in the evening on Monday with the EntreMD podcast. Like, so it's almost as though because I was consistent, they decided, since you're consistent, I'll add you to my sacred daily routine type of thing, right? And so then it builds that trust of, you're here, you're consistent, you're doing it. And that opens doors. Like that trust opens doors, and consistency in building the reps is what creates it. And then when you talk about attracting relationships, the thing with that, with relationships, is you never know where that goes, right? Like you never know who you draw into your world. And so what you just gave us, that is such gold just from building that muscle. Now, so if we look at it in other terms, whether that is opportunities that showed up because you were speaking, because you were putting yourself out there, what kind of things have happened?
So interestingly, at the beginning of 2020, I was approached by someone who was in media. And, at that time, he said, well, would you like to be a part of this particular media company? And I said, no, I was why it was 2020, as you said, it was the beginning of my journey. I was very nervous. I don't know if I can do this. So the confidence that I had in myself was very low at that time because I just started. Why would somebody want me? I'm here doing a Facebook Live in my little room. So interestingly, so as we talk about being consistent, now the same person in 2022, they approached me again. They said, I noticed that you're still out there. And I said, yes, I am.
I like it. I like it.
You must really want to do something within this. I said, well, yes, I do. So I had the opportunity to fly out to one of the Midwest states, and they had these auditions for speaking, what they call like some reels for shows that they're putting together. And because of the fact that I've been doing this live, when I jump on camera, for some strange reason, like I'm just comfortable. Who would have thought? 2 years of just doing it in your house, looking, talking, you just become comfortable and now you love it. So in front of the camera, I shun. And then they had a 3 minute speaking reel where there were multiple people. Some of them were speakers with these organizations, speakers with that organization, and you had to do a 3 minute little reel. And I tell you, I went and I said, oh, okay. They told me about it, that I had the opportunity to do it. I think it was the night before. And I'm like, all righty, you know what? And that's the other thing. You build that confidence. You're like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kill it. Man, I went
I'll
there
say that
prepared
again.
by
I'm going to do it and I'm going to kill it.
Kill it. Now, 2 years before, I would not have thought that way, right? Oh, I wonder. I don't know. Now I'm like, ooh, yes. I went there and I was the only person, did not have to do a second or third or fourth take. I mean, I went there and I killed it. Because the confidence is there. I know what I know how to do. I'm like, I can do a speech. I know how to deliver. I know how to capture audience. Why? Because I've been working on this consistently for 2 years. So even the day I recall, like you mentioned that, I introduced Dr. Una. For those of you guys who, we have our wonderful retreats. And I remember I nervously asked Dr. Una, you were asking me something. And I was like, I'm going to take this opportunity and ask if I can introduce her. And you were like, no, okay, go ahead. And I said, ooh, she does not know what I have in store.
Yeah, and of course I didn't know what you had in store, but it was great.
Ooh,
It was great.
yes.
And
And,
that,
it's the
because you brought
power.
up this ask thing, I was just like, wait,
Hmm.
let me jump in on that
Yes.
because that is another muscle, right? And so if you think about the number of times you've done introductions and the last retreat that we had, you actually nominated someone, right? So you opened the event, but you're like, this is the person who's going to do the introduction. Now, all of that started because you asked. And I had no objection whatsoever. I just never thought about it, right? And so think about the opportunities we don't have because we don't ask. Now, I know you are a quote unquote asker, right? And so is that something that is this same process where in the beginning you were scared of doing it and then you started building that muscle? Like, how do you get the speaking gigs? Like, do they come knocking at your door? What, like, talk to us about asking here.
No, 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 no. It's still a lot. Like we talked about the reps, building the reps. Now, you asked a very great question. At the beginning, is it simple? Is it easy? No, it is nauseating. That day when I asked you, I don't like, I held my breath again. I'm like, well, maybe Dr. Una is going to say, well, what are you
The
talking
nerve
about?
of the nerve of her.
The nerve. But you said, okay. And then I said, oh, okay. I don't even recall what else we were talking about in that quick. But needless to say, asking is one of the most powerful muscles that we have, and building it really gets you places. Now, it's nauseating, but once you start to do it, and like we say in our group, and as part of, I keep talking about EntreMD because, of course, those are my peoples. We have developed ourselves to try to divorce ourselves from the outcome. Now, once you start to divorce yourself from the outcome, then you stop internalizing the no that occurs, right? I'm asking you, hey, and I look at it like, hey, I like that red shirt. May I borrow that red shirt? And the person says no. Okay, all righty, cool. I'll move on to the other person. Oh, someone else has a red shirt. How about yours? May I borrow your red shirt? And they said, yeah, okay, cool. So eventually someone will say yes. Now, if I ask that first person and then they said no, and I looked at it and said, oh my gosh, I'm a horrible person. I went and I asked them to borrow the red shirt. They probably think that I'll never be able to wear red shirts. And, you start internalizing it. I'm just a horrible person for even breathing. I can never look at that person again because of stuff. Then you've taken this whole thing and you've not divorced yourself from the outcome. Guess what? You still don't have a red shirt and you're there wallowing in self pity. But if you really take that time and just move on to the next person, then it becomes nothing. The ask is just an ask, So one of the times I say, I know in my culture, I'm Jamaican. And I think a lot of times growing up, we don't learn how to ask because we associate asking with begging. And that's different. An ask and a beg is different. You know what I mean? So once you divorce yourself from that outcome, then you start building that muscles and you're closer, like we said, to that yes, which is what you want.
Oh man. Okay, so you've dropped some real gold here. Real gold. And I love that you're normalizing the things that people experience but stops them, right? Like asking when you start doing this stuff, and it's the whole time because as you go on your journey, you're going to start asking for new and newer stuff. It's nauseating, right? Like, and it's so funny that on EntreMD Business School in the Facebook group, you have people go like, I just did this and I was nauseated the entire time. And everybody's like, yeah, and they have all these emojis going up and like green vomit and stuff, but it's so normal. And so there are things you've been thinking about doing and they make you nauseous, but this is the path, right? We're just telling you that it's completely normal. So normal. So you talk about the EntreMD Business School a lot. It's come up a lot here, and people are probably going like, "What? What is the EntreMD Business School?" Right? And so, the background of this is that you've been in EntreMD Business School since day one. So since June 27th or 28th of 2020. And then you became a master, meaning, after your first year, then you became a master. And now you're part of the EntreMD Business School team because you're a success mentor and you lead our success groups, which are smaller groups of people where they get to do a lot of hands-on implementation, co-working, and all of those things. Talk to the people a little bit about, what that is and what kind of person is good for,
Oh, absolutely. So, EntreMD, if you have an inkling of wanting to become an entrepreneur as a physician, just come on in. Now, the challenge is that you think about things and then you overthink it and then you don't take that action. There are many people who have not taken that action, and 2 years ago, they thought about it. They're at the same spot they were 2 years ago, and then they'll watch people progress. But if you just take that step, which is really investing in yourself, investing that time and that, treasure within yourself, you'll go leaps and bounds. Now, why do we say this? I'll give you some stories about, EntreMD. One of our wonderful physician, I'll say her name. I'm pretty sure I told her I'll talk about you in front of your face and I talk about you behind your back. So she laughs and she understands. So this is the wonderful Dr. Karen Palmer. So Dr. Karen Palmer took, a chance in her step. She's like, I wanted more. And this is a 10-month progression and I'm going to go through. So she joined our school in January of this year. So 2022 at this recording. And she said, I don't even know why I joined. That's how Karen talks. She was like, I just joined. And a lot of people, they'll join and they're not really sure because the community is so positive and it's so overwhelming to them. They're like, this can't be real. And so she took 2 months and she didn't really engage. But then by March, she started to kind of engage a little bit. We had our wonderful EntreMD Business Master Makeover in April, which we do. And so she showed up. And then she started to talk, to us, and she started telling us about her situation. She said, I'm in a really toxic, group. And by the way, keep in mind, this is April. I'm in a toxic group. And, whenever I ask them about the finances, they're really, so negative about it. May, she says, they're saying that they're probably going to start getting rid of me June. Yeah, they said that they're going to get rid of me July. Hey, I'm now unemployed. August. Hey, I'm starting my own practice. September. Hey, I have my first new patient, but I didn't even open my practice yet. October. Hey, I have a grand opening. And guess what? The mayor of the city has come to my grand opening and she's also going to have me take care of her kids. I'm like, this is crazy. As now, as we put the disclaimer, not everyone will achieve said results, but there's so many of this exact same story that's a part of EntreMD. Why? It's a community, it's support. Once Karen became part of the community and she started getting the support, she lost that fear that she had at the beginning when she said, I don't know what I'm going to do because this practice seems like they're going to get rid of me. She actually celebrated, if I'm not mistaken, when she said, I am unemployed. And then 2 weeks later, I just have my LLC. I'm going to start my own business. And like I said, it wasn't even a quarter because it's, July to September, she had her first patient and started it. And she last week gave us a grand tour of her beautiful facility, which she's planning on expanding.
Okay, when you put it like that, I'm like, I want to be a part. Where is that? I'm like, oh, I'm in it. That is
such a magical
that is
place.
such a beautiful story. Oh my goodness. And it's absolutely true. She's had quite a journey. And like Dr. Beckford said, yes, there's a disclaimer. Not everybody's going to have that, but there's enough of those kind of stories to make you go like, wait a minute. There are a lot of them, right? There are tens of stories like that. And so that is really, really fascinating. And, it's funny that you started off by saying, someone didn't make the decision and 2 years later, because I've actually had people call me and tell me that. Like, I knew about this 2 years ago and I'm just watching my colleagues or friends who said yes. And I'm just looking at them like they're completely different people and they're out there doing all these big, bad things. And I am in this same exact spot. And so before I wouldn't come out and say, hey, just come get into school. But now I do that because I understand the opportunity cost, right? And so if it's something you're thinking about, like, I know there's more. Some people, I know there's more. Some other people, you're like, I'm building this business, but I'm really struggling to attract patients or clients. Or you're like, this is so lonely and so frustrating and so tiring. You can enjoy your journey as an entrepreneur with the challenges, because we don't say the challenges go away. In the school, we celebrate the trials and the triumphs. We know, right? And you're trying to build a team and you're struggling with all of that. You don't have to do this alone. Yes, we did not get a business education, but in this world we live in right now in 2022, this is no longer a problem for physicians because we have options. Okay. And your options, the EntreMD Business School. So, listen to Dr. Beckford, check it out. It's entremd.com/business. So EntreMD is ENTREMD.com/business and apply. And, it's application. So we're not trying to manipulate anybody. If we were, we'd leave it open for everybody to come in. Right. And so we're not trying to manipulate everybody. If it's not a good fit, really, we'll go like, we don't think so. And we've done that. Mm-hmm. But if we know we can help you, oh my goodness, like come in already. Right. What do you think, Dr. Beckford?
Absolutely. And, I'll add the second time around, it's okay if you made that decision at that time and you didn't feel confident enough, but don't sit and wallow in self-pity. Make the decision and act upon it this time around. The great thing is that you're in community and you're going to be with other entrepreneurs, like you said, of different stages. So if you're like, well, this person is a 6 and 7 figure business and I'm just the inception, I don't even know what I want to do. Great. A fertile mind, let it be dug out. And the thing is, you get to go through this with others who have gone through it. So even the 6 and 7 figure business entrepreneur and physician that's around, they started where you were. So where else would you want to be where you can actually have a safety net of people who are showing you the highs and the extreme lows of being a physician entrepreneur? Life happens in between, but this is a great way for you to just get to your goal, but get there with people who are consistently supportive.
So good. You guys heard her. EntreMD.com/business. Go turn in your application. And don't wait. Like the waiting thing doesn't produce any results. Dr. Beckford, people are going like, Dr. Una, enough. Where can we find her? Where can they find you?
Absolutely. So as we said, that I am Dr. Beckford and I'm the CEO of Your Caring Docs. That's URCaringDocs. You can find me on my website. That's yourcaringdocs.com, where I have wonderful information about what I do and how I help organizations, plus my wonderful podcast that I've interviewed over 165 of my physician colleagues. It's all there. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Tamara Beckford. I'm very I'm like all over LinkedIn. So you can find me there. That's my name, Tamara Beckford, MD. And you'll also be able to find me on other social media platforms as Your Caring Docs. So send me an email if you would like to connect with me, if you'd love for me to be able to help your organizations to boost their retention, to reduce their burnout through these workshops. If you need someone for your speaking engagements, I am available. Just send me an email at Dr. Beckford, Beckford, at yourcaringdocs.com.
Okay, you heard, you're now like a master wordsmith, So guys, if you're looking for a great speaker, you have her. If you're looking for a great host for your event, the openings, the breaks, the closes, all of that stuff, this is who you're looking for. And then for the corporate stuff, if you're looking for somebody to work with the employers to make the employees' life so much more fun, then Dr. Beckford is your person. So Dr. Beckford, we're going to end with this. I talk about the Doctors Changing Medicine podcast being a movement. It's not quite a podcast, right? It's a movement of change. There's a million physicians. We don't like the way things are. We can change it, right? And so I tell everybody, I'm like, you can't just listen to this and walk away. You have to share it with the physicians in your life. You have to share it with like whole residency groups or associations and stuff like that, because the more doctors that become aware, the more we shift the culture, right? So what is the
Absolutely.
reason why the doctor listening right now should share this episode?
Absolutely. Well, you're sharing this episode because it's showing that North Star and that voice that you have within you, it's there for a reason. Not going to go away, but you can quiet that voice until she guides you. You know, if it's a her or if it's a he, that voice guides you to the next step. Now, you look at my story as someone who wiped themselves off and now it's like, hey, I would love to do this. I've learned my skill sets and you have your skill set within yourself. So take this as an opportunity to say, you know what? If Tamara can do that, you're right, I can do this too. Just one step at a time. But biggest thing is take action.
Yes, I was looking forward to this. I knew it was going to be great. I had no idea how great, but I knew it was going to be great. This is good. So good. You heard her. You guys share the episode. Dr. Beckford, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you really for not giving us a highlight reel, but taking us behind the scenes to see all the things, which is the ultimate highlight reel, right? So thank you so much for coming.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, people. So take action one step at a time. Don't stay stuck. If you're thinking about the EntreMD Business School, come join us and share this episode with another doctor in your life. They will thank you forever. All right. I'll see you on the next episode. Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to entremd.com/on demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.